Hello everybody and welcome to the latest Liverpool Blood Red podcast with me, Ian Doyle, here from Paris still. Joining me today is our full-time Liverpool correspondent, both home and away. He's Paul Gorst. Hi Paul.
Morning Ian.
How are you?
Tired.
Hungry? Yeah. Tired and hungry?
Angry.
Yeah, all of those things.
Yeah, other than that, I'm feeling good.
Theo, hello. We have Theo Squires as well. Theo, and how are you?
Fed up, deflated. It's taken the sting out of it. What should have been a wonderful trip.
Come on, Theo, we're doing a podcast here. There's no need for that kind of attitude. Now, right, we'll deal with the game later on. But we will start then with what happened before the game. Now, we got to the ground about just 2 3/4 hours before, wasn't it? Oh, rather, we got to the...
6 o'clock, wasn't
it? Well, okay, let's rephrase that. We left the centre of Paris at about 5:45 and we used the metro. And even then you could tell that something wasn't quite right because we were supposed to go and get off at one stop. We were told to then get off at another one. And it seems as though the police from that point onwards were funneling what they believed the Liverpool fans were all in a certain direction. And that, we were dropped off at a train station that was 25 minutes walk to the stadium, at least, yeah.
It was actually Saint-Denis Stadium, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, no, it was the Stade de France Stadium, but it was nowhere near the ground.
No, that's right. Yeah. And then we came up to that point where a bit later on, all the fans were funneled towards that checkpoint because we needed to show our media passes, didn't we, to get through there, which we thought was a little bit odd because it was even before the underpass that, it was still another 3, 4, 5 minutes walk before we even got to the stadium.
Yeah, I mean, the result's academic, isn't it? Win, lose or draw, Liverpool have had a brilliant season, and no, I don't think anyone would have been too distraught waking up today having lost 1-0 had it just been a normal game and everyone would have enjoyed today. It's sad really. It's left me quite angry this morning, to be honest. I woke up and I was just thinking about the people we know who were there, who were caught up in it. Fellas in the 50s, people who've been watching Liverpool home and abroad for years, just want to go and enjoy the day and support the team, and they're getting tear gassed and pepper sprayed, and it's just that, I mean, we've been here before, haven't we?
Athens 2007 is the one that I remember.
It feels like just nothing's ever been learned, and football fans are the easy scapegoat to put it all on them and claim whatever from the authorities, whether it's Uefa, the police, the French police here, who I'd say were horrendous, just walking around indiscriminately pepper spraying fans by the looks of things, who were just trying to get into the game. And then we had the sight of the dozens of riot police just basically watching Liverpool's end as the stoppage time ticked away. But
we have to say that they did go to the Real Madrid fans a bit later on when the celebrations were starting, but they did. It was pointed, wasn't it, that they were all masked in front of the Liverpool fans, whereas there was only stewards in front of the Real Madrid fans. Yeah,
well, once they delayed the game by 36 minutes, which was very strangely precise, wasn't it? Once that had happened, and there were still fans who were in the ground when the game kicked off, it kind of just took the wind out of the sails, I think, and just thought, well, I just thought anyway, win, lose or draw, the story's already been written here, and it's one no one wanted to hear. Really, it's just so deflating, but I'm also very angry about it as well.
I mean, a couple of things we have to say, Theo, in defence of the whole day as a whole, is when we were on the train going to the ground, as we were going through the stations, the fans were really, really, they were giving us songs, this, that and the other. And I don't know about you, but I actually saw some of them were joking with the police. They were joking with the police, and there didn't seem to be any kind of problems. I mean, we all
the train staff as well.
Yeah, we all went to the fan zone before the game. And Theo, you even got on the stage. Mercifully, you didn't give us a song, not least because I'm not entirely sure you know any other than whatever Bolton's anthem is. But then the atmosphere was fantastic, wasn't it? And everybody was like ready for the game. It was very much like, I was at Shevchenko, went to Kiev in 2018, Shevchenko Park, and in Madrid the following year. And it was very much like that. People were there, even though the people who, because there was no way that everybody got a ticket for the game. Again, something we'll come on to in a bit. But the majority of fans, in fact all of the fans there that we saw in that fan zone, they were great when they were walking around town, and we saw them around town, certainly on the day of the game. There was no issues whatsoever.
No, it's like the French have been so welcoming to fans all weekend. Like, you think every time we got in a taxi, you're having a little joke with the taxi driver, he's red or white, and they're all interested in the game, asking if you've got tickets, and just absorbing the atmosphere. It's like a big occasion to host this sort of game, and having little jokes with staff when you go into the game, and then you have that atmosphere at the fan zone. Fans just loving it, no trouble whatsoever, no trouble in town. Even when we went to that big park, we were walking through to the station, and there were so many fans there. And you think you've seen times before where that sort of occasion, bottles will be thrown or something. None of that at all. They were so well behaved. And then you get onto the metro, and you're like, you've got to get off here. You think it's really cramped on the metro as well. And then
that's to be expected in a way.
Yeah, that's to be expected. I'm not having to go at that. That's the fact that the fans were so well behaved on those metros, looking after each other, saying, make room, offering up their seat. Like, there was that little girl in the pram who could have easily been screaming in this. Yeah. But her mother was just enjoying the occasion. And seeing these fans making sure they're actually looking after her and making sure she wasn't getting squashed or anything. Liverpool fans were so well behaved from what we saw. And then you get to the stadium and it's just like turns like that. It's so bizarre. And there's not really any reason for it. Like, I know you'll see footage of fans climbing fences. The records will go against Liverpool fans if you want to make this point and be difficult about it and say Athens, they've got this reputation. Well, no, they don't. They were put in this position because, for whatever reason, the French police cordoned them to this little corner, didn't let them in the ground. It's like they've dictated things, and it's made it so difficult for them. Like, you can look at everything and go, hang on, that doesn't seem right. Like, Real Madrid's fan zone, 6,000 fans right near the stadium. Liverpool fans having to travel half an hour across town despite the fact there was going to be 40, 50,000 of them there. Just all these little things add up, and then when you get this horrible instance at the stadium, it's all very odd.
I mean, we also have to bear in mind that obviously Paris only got awarded the game 3 months ago because obviously St. Petersburg were going to take the game, and for obvious reasons with Russia they weren't able to do that. And normally I think you wait for is it 12 or 15 months that they permit for for people to be the host venues to be ready for the game. However, having said that, this is France, Stade de France. They host big games all the time. Yeah. It's the national stadium. And I know, Theo, I'll come back to Gorst in a second. I know, Theo, you were at the European Championship final in 2020. Euro 2020 final in 2021, and there was trouble, but that was almost a little bit different in the sense that you have to bear in mind what the situation was. People just got out of lockdown. They hadn't had the game for, basically they kind of been lulled in that false sense of security because of the actual crowds at Wembley would go for like 20, 30, 40, 50, and then it was a much bigger one. But again, Gorst, from UEFA's point of view, the fact that they came out with that statement straight away in English that said that they blamed the arrival of late fans, which weirdly, because I was speaking to somebody else, and the French and Spanish translation said it was due to security problems, which wasn't quite the same as blaming late fans. They then changed it a bit later on and changed it initially to security, to the same message about security, and then a little bit later on they started blaming ticketless fans. I
seen an official statement from the French police authorities after the game, standing in the mix zone. It was in French, obviously, but a guy who was next to me spoke French, so he read it out to me, and they were just trying to appropriate blame onto the fans. I think ticketless fans was the phrase. I mean,
it's easy to do that in the way because you're not actually naming a single individual, and you can just collectively just go, well, it must have been their fault.
Just a collective body.
And you don't know how many are ticklers either, or whether it's fakes and stuff.
We've spoken to loads of fans over the course of the weekend, haven't we? We know loads of fans who've gone. Speaking to loads of fans in the build-up to it, the excitement starts to generate. Now I haven't had one person say, I haven't got a ticket, but I'm going to sign my luck. Or, I've got this black one, but I'm going to give it a go. Don't know anyone at all.
You could watch it at the fan zone, so you just enjoy that atmosphere.
I mean, there were people who feared, we know of one that feared that they were about to buy a fake ticket, so they were in circulation, and some fans would have been caught out by that. But then that's not their fault, is it? You can see why the French authorities wanted to check the tickets before they got near the stadium to check for fake ones, but there's ways and means of doing it, and the fact that they did it that way. When you compare, by the way, we're going to have to mention this, the Real Madrid fans got there and they didn't seem to have any issues. Now,
they were all in good time, weren't they?
Yeah, and it wasn't just because they got there early. There are obviously other reasons for it. I'm pretty sure that their security protocols were not the same as what were given to Liverpool fans, even if they were expecting more Liverpool fans than Real Madrid fans, which obviously even in the stadium itself, in the neutral areas, was majority Liverpool.
Yeah, you don't know how much, as you mentioned there, the Euro 2020 final has played in the collective thinking of the French authorities. Maybe it's just blanket English football fans. I mean, I wasn't there at Wembley last summer, but I think Theo will probably vouch for me when I say that. I think a fair few people let themselves down, didn't they? This was a bit different because I haven't seen any kind of unrest other than just fans wanting to get in and being pepper sprayed and tear gassed and all kinds, and it shouldn't be happening, should it? Kids, the kids in there getting caught up in it all, and I've spoken to probably 10 to 12 fans since last night, and they've all kind of told me a similar story. It was horrendous, the worst thing they've ever experienced, and a lot of them are thinking twice about coming away to European away again, which is a massive shame. And it happened in Benfica as well, and it's not quite as aggressive in terms of the pepper sprays and the tear gases and whatever else, but I spoke to a few people after that game, and similar thing. The kick-off, was it delayed or were they in 10-15 minutes late, weren't they? Quite a lot of fans, heavy-handed, kind of aggressive, antagonistic policing. It's just a massive shame, and it's cast a shadow over the weekend for me. And you know, even if Liverpool were European champions this morning, we'd still have to be reflecting on this, and it's just a massive shame.
Yeah, Theo, I mean, obviously I know some people, as Gorst did, that were here, and you know, we spoke to them as well before the game, actually, on the Friday night, which again was perfect. You know, it was a great atmosphere, wasn't it? It was loads of Liverpool fans, there were Real Madrid fans, there was no issues whatsoever. And to be fair, we're not even suggesting there's any problem with Real Madrid fans. Liverpool were in 2018, there was nothing. There was nothing untoward. In fact, the only, as you said, the only antagonising was by the police towards the Liverpool fans that they kept there. I mean, there was reports, I've seen the pictures as well, of people being crushed up against fences. I know somebody who had to escape by climbing over one and help Alan Kennedy, of course, who scored the winner here, 1981, against Real Madrid in the European Cup final, helped them over. I mean, and they didn't even get into the game in the end. They had tickets, they paid £125 for the privilege of getting nowhere near the stadium. And then when they were going back when they decided to give up, they went back to get a taxi, and they had to wait for a while and go, actually, to be fair, they said they had to go hiding somewhere because loads of people who were then returning to the taxis were getting mugged by, presumably local, we don't know that for sure, but presumably it would be. And Sky Sports did do a report, I think it was actually during the game, where they said, look, this is what happened. This is what happened. And they reported that there were some locals who were trying to scale the fences and get in for nothing. So it leaves a bad taste, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Like we've mentioned the Euros, and that one there wasn't enough policing, but it was a horrible atmosphere on Wembley Way right from the off. You knew something wasn't going to happen. You didn't think it would be to that scale of fans charging to get in their way in the stadium, but there were no fences to climb there. They were just barging their way in and then stealing seats inside, and it was just shambolic because it wasn't controlled properly. This was almost the other way. There was too much police there for what was needed. Like we said, Real Madrid didn't have any issues, and Liverpool fans, it seems more like it was almost the fears of Hillsborough, like they were fearing that crush. They were climbing stuff for safety. They were worrying about.
We have to bear in mind it was a very confined space because we walked down there as well. Yeah, so
like we had the privilege of it being all open.
Yeah,
rather than being funneled down the middle, and there's only 2 lanes, and like, it wasn't massively busy when we were going there because Liverpool fans who arrived at the same time as us would have been going for a few drinks before we were going inside. And it's just, I think the fear you could see on the videos we've seen, the tears from kids, and like, this is supposed to be this famous European day, this glamour city and all that, and it's just left a sour taste in it all.
And in the Instagram age, they can't really hide, can they? No. And also, there's also, unfortunately for the authorities and the people who are now going to be accused of wrongdoing, the police, is the media got caught up in it, the English media, or a lot of some people that we know, and they were actually doing like live reporting from it, saying, look, this has definitely just happened. I mean, there was a report, was it of a photographer who was taken to one side and said stop taking pictures. It may have been a video person, but I can't remember. It was certainly an image-based journalist. So even before, I mean, I wrote the piece. To be fair, I wrote it and finished it just after the game kicked off, basically saying about what we were talking before about UEFA and their narrative. They were already trying to change the way things were viewed, and they've flip-flopped on that one twice since then, actually.
But the first message is already out
exactly,
there.
So that's it. That's it. And were there, let's be honest, were there some people there without tickets? Well, there would have been, because they're always, almost every game has got people who are trying to chance it, but not to the extent that it requires that kind of security, and there was that many that were going to be there to try and cause trouble. No, it's just nonsense.
Yeah, like we said, the atmosphere was fine. There was no hint of anyone wanting to cause trouble, certainly not Liverpool fans. They were just singing their songs, enjoying the day, wanting to celebrate this incredible season. Like Gorsty said, really the result is academic. It didn't matter how this game ended up if you take all the trouble away, because it has been a magnificent season for Liverpool, and you've just got to hope that the fans will cherish the fan park memories, they'll cherish the parade later today, and it's a celebration of the season rather than letting this be the dampener.
Everyone I've spoken to since full time, no one said, oh, if you'd have made that change a bit earlier, if we would have covered at the left back, there's been no talk of football. It's all just how horrendous the experience was heading into the game, and that's not the way it should be. Whether you win, you lose, or you draw, you enjoy the fallout from it. You talk about what happened during the game, and like we probably should be doing now. But it's just, as you say, it's just cast a long shadow over it all. And I think a lot of social media companies have got to be a bit more responsible as well, because I've seen one prominent football account with millions of followers tweeting Liverpool fans jumping over the fence to try and get in the game for free. And it was a video of one single fan, while the rest were kind of locked out.
Well, now that if one person does something, that means everybody's done it. Yeah, that's the same for everything.
Solely just to attract the
hits.
anger and the hits from
basically.
Other fan bases. Yeah. And at the time, when you see stuff like this, it could be any club, couldn't it? It could be any fan base.
It just because
locals and stuff.
It happens to Liverpool more often, because let's be perfectly honest, Liverpool have been to more European Cup finals by far than any other English team.
It's just the tribalism of it all. It's just horrible. It just trumps absolutely everything, no matter how. It should be a unified thing. The football supporters, whoever you support, are looking at that and thinking
that's more the world we live in today, isn't it?
I know.
And
that's what I'm saying about the big social media. If a load of idiots, faceless idiots, want to say stuff, then you just ignore that. But when you see these accounts with millions of followers trying to soak up a bit of all that, it's just not that. And that's where it all kind of snowballs from. All that kind of horrible mindset. And
the interesting thing for me is that I think UEFA fined Liverpool for a late kick-off for a couple of minutes for the Benfica game. Was it away from home? So I mean, what are they going to fine themselves for the late kick-off, or are they just going to ignore that?
They've put a few in, by the way. Yeah, they're absolutely furious that the late arrival of fans has tried to be passed off as the excuse. Absolutely livid.
I mean, even Liverpool's coach got caught up in trouble, didn't it? It didn't seem to have any kind of police escort, whereas we saw the Real Madrid one had a nice, easy passage to the. To the stadium. I mean, with the same thing happening to the fans, it must purely be coincidence, mustn't it, Paul, that Liverpool and Real Madrid appear to have been treated differently. Right, we'll stop that there before I say something that probably gets me. Anyway, there was a game, Theo. Liverpool lost 1-0.
Yeah.
I said about 15 minutes to go that Real Madrid are 15 minutes away from Real Madrid in their way to a 14th European Cup. The reality is, Liverpool didn't score, Real Madrid did. Both had 50% possession, and Klopp made a point afterwards saying that, look, we had 9 shots on target, they had 1. I think Liverpool had 23 shots at goal overall. But if you take everything away, the reason Liverpool didn't win is because the Real Madrid goalkeeper had one of the best games of his career.
Yeah, he said in the post-match press conference that he was going to give his life to win the Champions League, and that's what he's managed. Thibaut Courtois was superb. I think we were recalling it on the taxi back when we finally did talk about football. There must have been 3 or 4 saves where you think, wow, how's he done that?
There was definitely 3. Yeah.
Like the one that hits the post from Mane, like that's going right in the bottom corner, and he said he's used his full height just to get down to that and get a strong hand on it. The one from Salah in the second half, that's the strongest of hands to not only stop it going in the corner but get it over the bar as well. And then there's like the little flicks where he's managed to get down low. He is one of the best goalkeepers in the world. We saw that when he was with Chelsea, and now you're seeing it today. It's 9 shots on target, and he's managed to have an answer for all of them. And it's not as though you're thinking, Liverpool missed a good chance there. They should have scored that. The only one you can maybe think is, should Salah square it when Courtois gets the strong hand to it? But then you look at the replay, and where Alaba is, he probably gets a block on the cross. You think Salah on his weaker foot, he's still going to shoot. We've seen him score from that position against Man City and Watford earlier in the season. But there's nothing like saying, Liverpool deserved more, or it was their own fault. They just couldn't get past Courtois because he was in that good a form. He was fully deserving of man of the match, and it's how they've got to the final with him making so many saves, then basically Real Madriding it to the final. The narrative for the game was already done as soon as Liverpool missed those early chances because they couldn't get way past him, and Real Madrid came into it a bit more. You knew it would only take one chance. They'd take that chance, and then they'd probably win. And sure enough, that's what happened.
Look, Gorst, we're going to have to mention what happened before the game again, purely because that, as you made mention of it before, or hinted at it, it just influenced the feeling in the Liverpool end. There was hardly a song come out of them in the first half, and there was a brief part, probably if it was just before Real Madrid scored, there was a brief time where they would give it some chants and some of the familiar songs that all the fans will know, but other than that, they were very quiet because, to be honest, they were probably just all looking at each other going, did you have that problem outside that we had? And people were, because we know from social media and on WhatsApp and whatever have you, that people can stay in touch with each other very easily these days. They'll have all been worried about people that they know outside.
Well, yeah, exactly. It was not the usual noise from the Liverpool end, was it? Normally you'd expect to hear all the hits and.
Well, the funny thing was when they played "You'll Never Walk Alone" before the initial scheduled start of the game, which would have been about. The game was supposed to start at 9, as we said. It started at 9:36, so about 8:40 they played "You Never Walk Alone." There was only about 40% Liverpool fans in there. You could barely hear them singing it, and most of them just didn't want it.
Yeah, everything just kind of contributed, didn't it, to a pretty lousy night. The bus turned up later. I thought already been there 15-20 minutes. Some of their players were on the pitch, as we were seeing images of Liverpool's bus basically blocked in the middle of the road. So that doesn't help the preparation. I think Henderson said that in the mix zone at full time. It wasn't used as an excuse. Stuff like that doesn't help. Doesn't help both sides, obviously. But then all the delay kick-off.
And the players were aware that some of their families were caught up in it as well.
Yeah,
Klopp said that himself.
Yeah.
Robertson said it, hasn't he? The quotes that are out later today. Some of his mates were caught up in it, and he said that none of the players had the phone, so they weren't really checking, but it was there in the mind that some of the families are having trouble getting in. And then there was this stuff with Thiago, will he, won't he? That was a bit unsettling as well, wasn't it, for supporters, as all the noises going around over is he injured, what's going on with him. So just everything contributed towards the worst possible preparation, really, and then you've got to go and play Real Madrid. So after a 63-game season, so
I think the fact that it was the 63rd game, that kind of showed in the last 15 minutes. I think Liverpool looked not so much tired in terms of legs, but a little bit tired in terms of the ideas.
Yeah, I don't think there was a belief that in the Liverpool team that they could go and win that, to be honest, at a certain point.
It certainly wasn't there at the start.
Yeah, normally Liverpool are fearless, aren't they? Whoever they play, they just go and play their own game, whether it's Man City or Real Madrid or whoever. But there was just maybe the occasion of it all. Too many players turned in ordinary performances, and it's hard enough trying to beat Real Madrid, isn't it? We've seen this season that we've said every round that they're there for the taking, and evidently they're not. They're the champions of Europe. They just won La Liga, and it's supposed to be a team who are in transition. So it's just what Real Madrid do, I guess, isn't it?
It's interesting as well, Theo, that people listening to this podcast now, I'd say that the people who are more of the worldwide, the global fan base, who haven't got the opportunity to go to the games and go to games like this, will probably wonder why we spent almost all of this podcast talking about what happened outside the stadium, what happened even after the game, where we've heard stories of people getting attacked after the game by, again, presumably local youths. They were getting run at by, and we got told, didn't we, that when we were leaving, which was a long time after the game had finished, obviously,
two, wasn't it?
Yeah, we got told to be careful because there were reports of people being mugged. So compare that to the match-going supporters, certainly the ones who would have had a chance to go in here or were here. All they'll be talking, as Gorst said, all they'll be talking about now is what happened before the game and what happened in the game rather than what happened in it. And there'll be other people who'll be going, well, why aren't you just talking about the game? And that shows you the impact of what happened and how it influenced the night totally. For the people who were here, we of course then influenced the game.
Yeah, the game was an afterthought when you had the delayed kick-off and we have to, 8:36, 9:36, because we've got to listen to this performance. The fans were like, can we just get the football underway so then we can go home?
She wasn't very happy, was she?
She wasn't. She had a little moan, didn't she, on social media, and then deleted it.
It's probably her agent went, you probably shouldn't really be doing that.
Two of the biggest fan bases in the world.
Anyway.
No, that's all right, yeah.
But yeah, it's like the football was an afterthought. You wanted it out the way, and it's just like more worrying about your friends, your family there. I've had a few text messages, and obviously I've not got many
text messages, not WhatsApp messages. Sorry.
I've not got any.
What year is this again?
I've not got any relatives here or anything, but I know you've got your brother out here. You've got people you've grown up out here.
Yeah.
I have a few colleagues and stuff, but you're still wanting to check on them, make sure they got home okay, the fact they got to the stadium okay. That is your primary concern. It's like it could have gone worse. But that is the one grateful thing, that it didn't go worse. It's a horrible experience, and
it probably didn't go worse because the fans knew to behave.
Yeah,
they didn't get sucked into what could have been a more difficult situation than it already was.
They behaved as well as they could and went along with everything that the authorities were doing to get in the stadium. And then when they knew they weren't going to get in, some of them went home, as you mentioned earlier. And they've just been treated appallingly, and now they're trying to be scapegoated for it by UEFA. It was a very foul taste in the mouth. As we've already mentioned, it left a horrible atmosphere in the stadium. Like, Liverpool fans had their wings clipped. They weren't going to make that noise because they were in the stadium and they didn't really want to be there. They were just worrying about friends and family. It's all a very surreal experience. It didn't feel like a Champions League final. We've spent all the week building up to this, talking about, it's this big tie, this big city, looking forward to it. It's the big occasion. It's what UEFA should want. It's what Europe should want. And it's just left this horrible taste in the mouth. And it's like, soured the whole experience. You just got to hope that it parades this final celebration now.
Yeah, I hope in time that the kind of overriding images of Paris is the fan park rather than the game. Because the fan park was brilliant, wasn't it? We were there, we were backstage, we were. I mean, at one point Michael Edwards was in front of us doing air guitar to the lightning teeth, wasn't it? And that was a bit of a surreal, like, is this actually happening moment? And they were all on the bottles of Heineken, and it was just a brilliant atmosphere. The Anfield Rock guys were there, and Redmen TV, and a few others. It was just a celebration, wasn't it? And I think it was a celebration of the season. You know, whatever happens later on in the game, that this is us. This is our people, our fans, and whatever, and it was brilliant. So I hope that when the stuff settles, and whenever that's going to be later in the summer, that people remember that rather than because there was 50,000 Liverpool fans there who were all enjoying it, and there was a few hundred who were being subjected to horrendous treatment. So I hope in time that Paris, the fan park is the thing, but there's no getting away from it, and it shouldn't be. That just once again, football fans just being treated like muck by the people in power.
Anything to add to that?
Says it quite well. We could go on all night a day about how it's been a appalling experience. Now they've been treated badly, but what we're saying is what everyone here has experienced. It's what they've seen. The good thing that we are in this social media age where the media can cover it properly and show that this is the video footage of it, this is what has exactly happened, and UEFA aren't going to be allowed to win with their messages, the French police aren't going to be able to win with their messages. The true story is out there, and thankfully no one got badly hurt. Every Liverpool fan will be going home safe and sound and go and hug their loved ones and just move on from this experience, enjoy the summer, and then we go again in August.
Not the way to end this season, though, was it? When you consider everything that's happened. It's been a brilliant season. I've been saying that for months. I think I was saying it back in January when Liverpool got to the Carabao Cup final, and I think they've already beat United 5-0.
They lost 4 games in 63.
They've beaten Everton 4-1. At the time, they'd only lost 2 games. It was just.
How great the FA Cup semi-final was in the sun.
Yeah.
That first half, the fans loving that occasion.
Do we read anything into the fact that they didn't score in 3 finals, or? It's because in at least 2 of those games, the opposition goalkeeper had a great game.
Absolutely well.
They're obviously playing better teams, aren't they? Mendy was great in the Carabao Cup final, and Courtois was superb.
There was a dodgy disallowed goal in the League Cup final. A loose Salah to injury in the FA Cup final.
I mean, I had a Tottenham fan on to me saying, how could you celebrate when you've not scored in 3 finals? And I said, well, Tottenham didn't, and they didn't win 2 trophies, so.
Well, yeah, there you go. I think me and Neil Jones were trying to think of the games Liverpool haven't scored in last night, and I think it's only 6, and 3 of them are the finals. Let's hope that changes next season.
What are the other ones? Leicester and Inter Milan too.
Leicester, Inter, and
Arsenal 0-0 League Cup.
Oh yeah, League Cup, yeah. And on that goalless bombshell, I think we'll finish. Safe travel to everybody who's coming back. going back to wherever you're heading. We'll be heading off soon, and we will be speaking again. When are we next podcast? We just seem to be doing this all the time now.
It'll be tomorrow.
Friday, won't it?
Tomorrow, yeah. I reckon it might be tomorrow now. Well, maybe see you on Monday. Cheerio.
Put the bones out again.